Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bronson Soapbox, where I'm here to talk about weird video game things like reboots. So, a common practice in video games, and especially in films over the past decade or so, has been reboots, which is when you take a franchise that has lapsed or been dormant or just grown a little stale and said, all right, we're going to redo it. Do a redo, like, the whole canon's gone, everything's wiped, fresh slate. And in some cases, those yielded great results. In some cases, it's yielded poor results. But what got me thinking about this is I watched the new Doom trailers and Doom footage, and thought about how do you make Doom in 2016? How does that game work? How does it play? Because while I love Doom and think it's one of the most influential games of all time, and it's one of my personal favorites, it doesn't, and it still actually kind of holds up today. Like it's not a game that works well with modern shooter conventions, be it arcade or like realism or like a sci-fi like a Halo. And I'm kind of curious how they'll make that game play and run in 2016. They have literal interpretations of classic Doom monsters, but in 3D a lot of them look super weird, just like they did in Doom 3. Like they want to give this horror edge, but Doom on the PC, the originals 1 and 2, the one that everyone calls like the greatest games ever, weren't really scary. And when I was in that multiplayer alpha, I didn't know really what to think of it. And I feel this has the potential to be a real mess versus a reboot that was completely awesome, like Tomb Raider. That Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider is exactly how you should do a reboot. They redid the story, they modernized it, they made it look gorgeous, put real high production values behind it, and the only thing they kept were names and tone, and that's about it. Like, hey, you're gonna go raid tombs, it's an adventure, think Indiana Jones, stuff like that. And that was perfect. Like they nailed it. It was great. Rise of the Tomb Raider was one of the best games of last year, and Tomb Raider, in my opinion, is an underrated for a game that sold over 3 million copies. Gem from the last generation and this one. But that's how you do one right. And so many people get them wrong. Like they're starting to do Mass Effect soon. It's like how do you reference Shepard? Do you connect it to Shepard at all? Do you go direct? Direct connection isn't a reboot, I should say. That's insanity. But what if you were to they're rebooting Unreal Tournament? How does Unreal Tournament work in 2016? Because if you try and make it play like it did back in the day, you get this game that no one understands as this really weird, out there thing that no one knows what to work with. Versus if you do a game like, say, if you make it play like Call of Duty, it's then that's not Unreal Tournament. That's Call of Duty with an Unreal Tournament skin. It's kind of the problem they had with Halo 4 when they tried to modernize Halo. Obviously, that wasn't a reboot, but they were kind of rebooting the gameplay, and it's just they modernized it too much. It didn't feel like Halo. And that's a real bummer. Obviously, that was fixed in 5, at least in my opinion, but not everyone agrees. And I think that the key to a good reboot is nailing tone, nailing what are the core parts of a reboot. They're doing that Castlevania reboot called Bloodstained because Konami hates money and doesn't want to make another Castlevania. So the guys who made that did that Kickstarter, Bloodstained, coming out in 2-3 years. It's okay, what makes a game like Castlevania Symphony of the Night fun? All right, a big open castle with horror elements and great music and backtracking. Okay, what else? Lots of secrets, lots of cool boss fights. All right, great. Now what else? Items, neat characters. All right, cool. That is our design set and a horror tone. Great, peg that. You look at a game like Tomb Raider, it's all right. What is Tomb Raider about? Adventure, awesome. Action, awesome. Indiana Jones and exploration, let's fit it in. And a bad reboot is something like, if I had to give an honest opinion on it, I would say Fallout, Fallout 3 and onward. If you play Fallout 2 and Fallout 1, those games are nothing like Fallout 3. Nothing like them at all. It'd be like saying, it's a comparison would be like the difference from Warcraft 3 to World of Warcraft. Like those games are completely different. The only thing they share is story. Same thing with the Fallout world. And like for Fallout world, they said, "Hey, let's just take the tone and make Oblivion, but with a Fallout skin." And that's not to say that Fallout 3 isn't a good game. I personally don't like Fallout 3 or 4, but they didn't get what a reboot's about. Like Tomb Raider nailed a reboot. If you want a perfect example of a reboot, that's it. If you want a good example of like rebooting gameplay, look at Halo 5 or even Bayonetta, because Bayonetta has its core in a game like Devil May Cry. Well, the guys who made Devil May Cry said, "Well, we can't make Devil May Cry anymore because we don't work for Capcom. Let's take the ideas of Devil May Cry of immense style and cheese and combat and push it into a new game." And that's how Bayonetta happened. I think that when making a good reboot or making a spiritual successor like Bloodstained or Yooka-Laylee, it's about capturing the essence of what made that game fun, cool, and interesting. It's not those characters. Like, those characters can be part of it. It's not even like the genre the game is in. It's like, what is the essence of this game? How do I project it into a reboot, or in the case of like a Bayonetta or a Yooka-Laylee or Bloodstained, into a new IP? And a lot of developers have had trouble with that. Some have really nailed it, like the Demon Souls guy. It's like, all right, how do we project Demon Souls, like the difficulty and the challenge and the tone and style, into a thing that has more Lovecraftian vibe, that's a little more action oriented? And there you go, Bloodborne's made. Anyway, that's my little tangent on reboots, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'll be back next week talking about something as always. You can follow us on twitch.tv/thegameraccess, where we have a lovely donation button that we would love for you to click. All money goes to things like capture cards, microphones, review copies for 60-minute access and reviews, and stuff of that nature. So please donate. That'd be super rad of you, and we'll be back sometime next week.